Hey there, it's Natalie, and I'm here in Bentiu in Unity State in South Sudan. This community has experienced a huge amount of flooding this year. This place is prone to flooding every year, but this is the first time since the 60s that the floods came and actually did not recede. And today is March 31st, and in April is when now we're expecting the new rains for the next rainy season. So where I'm standing here, you can see this is the IDP community, where people who are internally displaced from their communities due to the flood disaster have all come and concentrated here in this camp or this community. So the interesting thing here is that with the help of the UN and others, they have been coming in with excavators to create this huge dike all around the entire town of Bentiu. It is a massive undertaking, a huge investment, huge amount of fossil fuels. I mean, thank goodness that we have institutions that will come in and do this from a humanitarian perspective. It is not sustainable, but they're doing everything that they can, and that's really appreciated. But what we did in this last 3 weeks that I've been here is to really have a bit of a laboratory of what types of food systems might be viable in flood zones, to make sure that we can have at least supplemental nutrition during flood disasters. So, with my guidance since last year, the team here started to establish some form of floating gardens, making sort of these rafts using local materials, and then pile them on with water hyacinth, which is available in a flood. So obviously we want to focus on locally available materials. But when I came here 3 weeks ago, we were discussing with the community, the feedback on this type of prototype, and with that feedback, we adapted some new prototypes to test. And again, we're not promising success here. We are testing. This is a laboratory. It's experimental. We're trying to understand what might be viable, either for households to take up on their own or in the context of humanitarian response. So what we've done here is we have a few different prototypes here. So again, we had local timbers with hyacinth that are, they have challenges for a number of reasons. And then the community also made this one with local timbers, and they're growing sukuma wiki, which is kales. So we've developed a number. That one, not this one in front, but behind, is made with bamboo. It's a bamboo raft, and underneath we just used discarded tires that are no longer roadworthy, and using the buoyancy of those to keep that raft afloat. This one as well, with the big rectangular trellis on it, that one is suspended and floating by virtue of 4 large 200-barrel drums. And so that's what's keeping those afloat. It holds a huge amount of composting hyacinth on top. So the material you're seeing on top is the hyacinth that we are harvesting from the water and using that as a substrate and a growing medium for leafy green vegetables. This one here is being kept up by jerry cans. So we have about, I think, 15 jerry cans under there, which is a high value item and also not very sustainable. A lot of these we know are not sustainable in terms of being viable for the local community, but we're just trying to understand the physics, the biology right now of these types of systems. For me, the biggest and best surprise is that this one right here with the triangular trellis, the full trellis raft, this one is using only the locally available sticks and twigs and branches to construct the raft rather than the bamboos, which are brought in from another community. And this is being held up only with plastic bottles, which are locally available. They're discarded material, and it's able to hold a huge amount of weight through that composting hyacinth. So that was a really great surprise. But what we also found is that if you can see off in the distance, one of the water plants that is, that you can see kind of all these little sticks and shrubby looking things is actually like a natural styrofoam material. It's a naturally buoyant, looks like a daikon radish when they pull it out of the water. And so we've actually constructed another raft using just that material. And we're gonna see if we can pile the hyacinth on top of that. And that would be a fully locally non-timber prototype that could also be a viable option. And you know, the one benefit of these is that they're mobile. People can move with them if they're taking, you know, if they need to shift to another place in higher land, but it also rises and falls with the water level. So it is floating, it's not fixed. We did also do a chinampas modeled after the Aztec raised garden bed islands in Xochimilco in Mexico City. So we've been trying a number of different things. We also, in one of the households here, have done a bio-intensive permaculture garden to really try to demonstrate how to just really bring in much more intensive food production immediately around the household. You know, one thing that we are going to monitor for here is theft, because that's just a reality here in the community, that not only the materials are at risk of being, you know, snatched by people here who need resources and money and food, as well as the food itself that grows. So that's it. That's what we're trying. We're not promising success. This is a laboratory. We're just testing some concepts to see what works, and we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot.